a comprehensive guide to conducting project research, steps, examples, and best practices. Effective project research is a cornerstone of successful project management and development. Whether you're working on an academic study, a market analysis, or a product development project, following a structured research process is crucial. This tutorial outlines the essential steps of conducting project research, providing detailed examples and best practices for each stage. Step 1. Define the research problem. Identifying and articulating the research problem is the first and most critical step in the research process. A well-defined problem statement sets the direction for the entire research project. Example: suppose you are developing a new smartphone app aimed at improving productivity. The research problem might be, what features do users find most valuable in productivity apps? Best practices. Be specific about what you are trying to solve. Ensure the problem statement is clear and focused. Consider the broader impact of solving the problem. Step 2. Conduct a literature review. A literature review involves analyzing existing research related to your problem. This helps you understand what has already been discovered and where your research can contribute new knowledge. Example: if your research problem is about productivity apps, you might review articles on user satisfaction with similar apps, such as a study of mobile productivity apps. What features do users value? Best practices. Use academic databases like Google Scholar, JSTOR, or PubMed. Summarize findings from various sources to identify gaps. Cite sources correctly to avoid plagiarism. Step 3. Develop a research proposal. A research proposal outlines your research plan, including objectives, methodology, and expected outcomes. It serves as a blueprint for your research activities. Example: your research proposal might include: objective, to identify key features that users seek in productivity apps. Methodology, surveys and interviews with potential users. Best practices. Include a clear research question or hypothesis. Describe the research design and methods in detail. Outline the timeline and budget for the research. Step 4. Design the research methodology. This step involves deciding how you will collect and analyze data. The methodology should be designed to address your research problem effectively. Example: you might choose a mixed methods approach. Quantitative data, surveys to collect numerical data on user preferences. Qualitative data, interviews for in-depth insights into user experiences. Best practices. Select data collection methods, surveys, experiments, case studies. Ensure your methods are reliable and valid. Plan how you will analyze the data: statistical analysis, thematic analysis. Step 5. Collect data. This step involves executing your research methods to gather data. It's important to follow your research design carefully to ensure data quality. Example: you might distribute online surveys to a sample of productivity app users and conduct interviews with a subset of these users. Best practices. Ensure data collection tools are tested and reliable. Follow ethical guidelines for research, including informed consent. Record and store data systematically for later analysis. Step 6. Analyze the data. Data analysis involves interpreting the collected data to draw conclusions related to your research problem. Example: you might use statistical software to analyze survey responses and identify trends, or use coding techniques to analyze interview transcripts. Best practices. Use appropriate statistical or analytical techniques for your data. Interpret results in the context of your research questions. Be objective and avoid bias in your analysis. Step 7. Interpret and report findings. This step involves summarizing the research findings and discussing their implications for the research problem. Example: you might find that users prioritize features like task management and notifications in productivity apps. Your report would detail these findings and suggest how they can be applied to app development. Best practices. Present findings clearly and logically. Discuss how findings relate to the research problem and objectives. Suggest practical applications or recommendations based on your research. Step 8. Review and revise the research process. Reflecting on the research process and making necessary adjustments is crucial for improving future research efforts. Example: after completing your research, you might review the methodology and data collection processes to identify any limitations or areas for improvement. Best practices. Evaluate the effectiveness of your research methods. Seek feedback from peers or mentors. Document lessons learned for future projects. Conclusion. By following this series of structured steps, as researcher, you can tackle complex questions and contribute valuable insights.